Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and why is winter fighting back? It's like 40 degrees and raining the last couple days.
It's a war out there.
We had like 2 good weeks of springtime weather. You know, that mid-70s, nice breeze.
That's very true.
And then all of a sudden, winter wants to come back.
And rain on the parade.
Move on, winter. I'll see you next year.
Never.
And joining me as always is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all of our listeners. Timstradamus.
Voyse.
Knock, knock.
Maybe I don't answer the door this time.
Knock, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Candace.
I don't want to play this game. I feel like I've heard this. Candace who?
Candace be the true love I am feeling right now?
I thought that was going another way.
I got you.
You did get me.
You thought I was going to be dragging some nuts across your forehead.
I didn't want to do it.
Oh, man. I look forward to any listener that knows that joke.
You got me.
There was actually quite a few jokes that I was looking through when it comes to cute couple jokes. And there's one that, I don't know, I feel like half of our listeners would be offended and the other half would find it funny. But let me go ahead and share it with you just to see what you think.
Okay.
A couple went on a date to a fancy restaurant. The girl tells the man to say something that will make her heart race. He replies, "I forgot my wallet." I think it's funny.
That's hilarious. That'd be a good filter joke for your date.
That's very true, to see if they actually have a good sense of humor.
Yeah. Good jokes. For new listeners, Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
So, Voyse. Sounds like we have another announcement to make.
We do. We have some more Teatrions. Welcome to the Tea Club, Water Lily, and Christina Watt.
Welcome in. Love and appreciate you guys.
Yes, thank you for all your support.
So, I've been smelling this for the last however long we've been doing this intro.
A minute.
What have you brewed for me this morning?
I brewed for you a loose leaf tea that we actually got from our Pirate Fest adventure.
Oh, that one.
Yes, I'm really excited. It has apples, almonds, cinnamon, and beetroot.
Ooh.
It's called Moon Princess.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I cannot wait to replicate this myself because it tastes so great.
It's a 5 out of 5.
All right. Well, while you go ahead and enjoy your morning cup of brew, why don't we go ahead and delve into these stories? For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for sleeping with my frenemy on my wedding day? For reference, this happened about 5 years ago, but I was confronted about it recently. I am a very boring person, and this was literally the only dramatic thing that has ever happened to me in my life. 6 years ago, my fiancé proposed to me. I was thrilled. We planned a beautiful, intimate wedding. I've always gotten along with his friends and family. His mother adores me. We've disagreed, but we didn't argue. We found ways to resolve our problems. Inside and out, we were a great couple. I never thought he would literally leave me at the altar. Our families, friends, and even the officiator kept trying to reassure me, but almost 2 hours after the ceremony was supposed to start, I got a call saying he got cold feet and didn't want to get married. He wanted to get more out of life before being tied down. I did some things I'm not proud of. I begged my mom to get me out of the dress, and I tore the stupid thing. I left the wedding after everyone kept looking at me with pitying eyes. I fended off a lot of calls from friends and family, telling them I was fine and I didn't want to talk. Here's the thing I was called the a-hole for. I have a frenemy. We've known each other since middle school. He's always been a class clown bully. I was not attractive growing up, and he would jokingly flirt with me and try to annoy me as much as possible. He never really grew out of either of those things. So when he called to check up on me, or really to rub it in my face, that I was dating a loser who dumped me on my wedding day, he asked if I wanted to hook up with him. I said yes, because my life was ruined anyways. What could be worse? He picked me up and we slept together. He is the second person I had been with, the first being my fiancé. It wasn't religious. I just saw it as special that we were each other's first and only. My fiancé, evidently, didn't feel the same. I blocked my fiancé, as did the rest of my family. His mom profusely apologized and said his late father would never have approved of what he did. My now ex-fiancé contacted me recently. He wanted closure, he said. He apologized for ghosting me, but he immediately said that it didn't justify me sleeping with someone else the night of our wedding. I told him it wasn't a healthy thing to do, but I've gotten comments from his friends that I acted badly, and they would have left me too. I don't even know what I did wrong. Am I the a-hole?
What a savage story to get us kicked off into Monday with. So based off all the details within this story, how could you be the a-hole? This is the thing. The second your fiance chose to bail on you on the wedding day while you were waiting there, and I think they ended up waiting at least an hour or two is what you told me.
I believe it was 2 hours after the ceremony.
He didn't even have the decency to let you know ahead of time that it wasn't going to happen. Or you had to stand in front of your loved ones and embarrass yourself for 2 hours. What you did after that has nothing to do with him, because that was the end of your guys' relationship. I don't know how you can sit there and believe that you have a right to say anything about anyone's actions after that. Now, to what she did, yeah, would I have not done that? Sure. That seems like a misstep.
Now, I will go ahead and intercede here. Our OP did say in the comments section that they didn't sleep with their frenemy to get back at their ex at all. Their exact comment on that was, the relationship meant everything to me. Sleeping with my frenemy wasn't about revenge. I was upset, and I don't know. Part of me wanted to see what was so great about it after my fiancé left me for it on our wedding day.
And from what I understand, it happened that night, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Don't do things out of an emotional state. I'm not saying she's wrong for having done it. All I'm saying is a litany of things could have transpired or happened because of the rashness of that decision making.
I can see it where it would be like a downward spiral.
Yeah. I know you said you've known this person since they were in middle school, but they were a bully. It doesn't sound like this was someone that was even on your radar. And it sounds like this person preyed on you. They all of a sudden contacted you right after your wedding went to the shit. It seems a little convenient. So in my mind, that person right there is a little scummy. You're definitely not the a-hole, OP. It's just funny that the guy's coming back because he wants closure after he abandoned you at the altar. What?
Especially when apparently his friends are coming out saying, I would have left you at the altar too.
No. Put them all on block. Move on with your life.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. However, I personally lean towards everyone sucks here. But let me go ahead and break down how Redditors see the not the a-hole. Redditors chalk it up to OP was technically single, and she could do anything that she wanted at that point when she was left at the altar. For me, the only reason why I label this as everyone sucks here, of course, I think OP's ex-fiancé is definitely the biggest a-hole ever for what they've done. But I think OP didn't give herself enough credit and respect than to do something on the fly as sharing a part of yourself when you're at your most emotional state. And that's the only reason why I give her very soft, like, you kind of suck. It's more for herself than for her actions. If she would have waited a week and then would have bounced back into going back into the dating game just to see what's going on, at least in that way, she would have given herself enough emotional downtime so that she could think things through herself rather than making something on the fly and then coming to the internet and trying to justify it. That's about it.
That's the only thing I didn't like about it was you came from a very emotional state and made those decisions and did it with someone who didn't respect you. That, again, sounded like they were preying upon you during a time where you're at your lowest.
Well, our OP actually provided us with an update. Ex-fiancé called and apologized. I suspected, but have no evidence someone may have sent him my post. Nothing stays quiet in a small town. He said he regretted what he said the moment it came out of his mouth, but the damage was done. He apologized again and promised that he would repay his half of the wedding. I'm not holding my breath. Some things to clarify. What was the actual reason for him getting cold feet? 2 major things. First, he found out his uncle, who he's very close to, took out a lot of debt in his name. It's fraud, but he didn't want to turn his own uncle into the police. He was afraid that I would resent him for putting me in a bad financial position right off the bat. Second, I didn't want to move to a major city. I am very happy living in our hometown, and I earn a very good living. He wanted to move, and he needed the extra money from a better job in a major city to pay off the debt. He felt stifled. Instead of talking to me, he began thinking of more and more reasons to not get married, but he was paralyzed by choice and ran out the clock. I was humiliated because he couldn't just talk to me like an adult and instead ran away. He also admitted he thought we would find our way back to each other. Was frenemy at the wedding? No. It was just close friends and family, but if you live in a town like mine, everyone knew by midday. Are you and frenemy going to ride off into the sunset together? No. I'm not joking when I say he annoys me and just brings up a lot of negative emotions. It's not cutesy or old married couple bugging each other. He consistently just did things that ruined my day. In class, he would rifle through my notes and scatter them, shut my computer off during computer lab, break my things, and constantly taunt me. He would also grab me or kick me or play wrestle. When we were 14, he broke my arm in an accident. He wouldn't stop hitting on me, and those things didn't stop when we grew up. It just became a part of my life. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was self-destructive. Maybe it was because I wanted to know why my fiancé left for this, whatever it was. I know I should stop. He still makes me upset. He'll mess with my stuff when he's over at my apartment. He'll steal my food. He's still very grabby and he still taunts me. But he's so much nicer when we sleep together, and I want to shake him and ask him why he has to be nice for only a couple hours. If he changed, I would be happy. But then he goes back to taunting me. But then he goes and does something inexplicably sweet. He's a good person, but he's mean. It's very self-destructive, and I know I'm just looking for the scraps of love I can get, and I'm stuck in this spiral. It's a lot looking back at what I've written, but thanks for listening.
That shed a lot more light on our OP's state of mind right now. They do sound like they're younger. I'm not sure if they ever gave their age in the post, but it sounds like she's still trying to figure out what her self-worth is. But I can tell you this, you're not going to find it in another person. You've got to start with you. It sounds like she's keeping this relationship with him, though, based off of how she's describing it. He's now over a bunch. He's still acting the same way, but he's amazing and sweet in this little corridor of time every day that I choose to have sex with him. That's not a good relationship. Until you're ready to realize those facts about life, you're going to live a hard one.
I definitely agree. If anything, let me go ahead and add one more comment from our OP regarding their ex. OP says, I don't know everything about my ex-fiance's situation, but if he had told me when those issues arose, we could have worked through them. I feel like I could have compromised and moved into the city or not turned his uncle into the police provided he was following a payment plan. Even if there were irreconcilable differences, I would have liked to make the decision mutually instead of being blindsided.
You know what's funny is I have already disregarded the ex-fiancé out of this story completely because I stopped caring about him the second he abandoned someone at the altar. I don't really care why you did it. There's never going to be a good reason in my mind why you did it. There's plenty of time before the wedding happens to have a conversation and say, hey, by the way, I don't want to go through with this. This, that, or the third reasonings as to why doesn't matter to me because the truth is the hurt's going to be the same.
That's true.
Your fiance told you, I just don't want to do this, or it's because I'm in a mountain of debt. Do you change how you feel about that? Does the hurt change?
No.
Like I said, I disregarded anything that was on that side of this story. I only started focusing in on our OP because it sounds like she's grasping for anything to float on, and that's not a good place to be. In my opinion, though, you probably got given a gift because it sounds like if he's unwilling to give you those big details on his life as far as communication is concerned, he's also got a lot of work to do as well.
Well, I do wish our OP the absolute best, and regardless of whatever their decisions were in the past, I hope that they make decisions for themselves for the future. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about a big secret. Am I the a-hole for revealing my sister's biggest secret? Throwaway, yada, yada, yada. I, 29 female, am a mom of 1, 3 female, and am pregnant. Baby is due in August. My sister, 22 female, is single. Makes money off influencing and lifestyle videos. She's carved a niche making a lot of child-free lifestyle posts, like posting pictures of vacation and luxury purses and saying this instead of a college fund, stuff like that. She's always been a good auntie to my daughter, and her annoyance with kids has never been targeted towards my daughter. My daughter had her birthday earlier this month at a park, and she unfortunately hit her face into the ground when she went down the slide. Her face was scratched up and she was screaming, but otherwise okay, just needed comfort and ice. Because there were many kids and it was nearing the end of the party, we cleaned up and went home soon thereafter. Later that evening, my sister made a video that retold the story of my daughter falling off the slide with her laughing and talking about how stupid my daughter is. To say that I was angry was an understatement. 2 years ago, my sister had a baby and gave him up to the dad, a one-night stand, because of her child-free stance. Here is where I may be the a-hole. I immediately commented on her video, telling her followers that she abandoned her baby and was not child-free. That she told my daughter to her face that she loved her and turned around and did this. Apparently, my sister's boyfriend did not know she had a child. My sister removed the video and called me screaming and telling me he left her and that I had no right to tell anyone about her child. Why I may be the a-hole. My sister getting pregnant and giving up her child was the darkest chapter of her life. She had a hard pregnancy, was terribly depressed during, and got on drugs afterwards. She's clean now, but refuses to discuss this part of her life. We had an unwritten rule that we do not discuss her pregnancy. My dad is on my side. My mom won't talk to me. She said as a gay woman, I should know not to out people. And my wife thinks I could have handled it better, but I can't get over her mocking my child and making content over her pain. Am I the a-hole?
What exactly is their title to this one?
Am I the a-hole for revealing my sister's biggest secret?
Are you ever not an a-hole for revealing anyone's secret to someone else? It's a secret. And if you're asked not to, because she says it, this was a very difficult time in her sister's life. Went through a lot. Unfortunately, got hooked on drugs afterwards. They gave up the kid to the father. There's a whole mess of issues in that story. But you felt slighted, and then you went right to the jugular. Like, you didn't call your sister. You didn't have even a text would have been appropriate in that situation. Yes, you felt hurt. At 29, to be so ready to burn the entire house down the second you feel slighted is an interesting place to be in emotionally. You'd think you'd have a little more perspective on life, handle things with a little more care and measure. I understand feeling hurt for your kids. If someone slights you, especially when you have a kid, the first time you hear someone say something negative about it, of course that
rankles the feathers.
Sure. You have that initial jerk reaction, and everyone has them. You're allowed to have the jerk reaction, but you're also allowed to take a second for yourself, really think about your actions before they happen. You didn't, and then you created this fiasco. Now, is your sister in the right? No, I don't believe so either. That's a pretty weird way of going about life. I understand that if you are child-free and you live that life, I really don't care. If it makes you happy, it makes you happy. But to sit there and use someone else's kid as content and then mock them. Again, I can see why ROP was hurt for the mocking. So she's no more in the right than you are, in my opinion. I think you both suck. You both need some time away from each other, especially if that's how you treat each other. Because it doesn't sound like there's healthy boundaries here. Especially when you're okay with letting an entire group of people on the internet know your sister's deepest, darkest secret.
So the consensus on Reddit was honestly a mixed bag. You had individuals who were saying not the a-hole. If someone really wants to start stuff on social media, you get what's coming to you. You had the other half that said our OP was the a-hole, that based on how fast you let your sister's secret out, makes them wonder if you were just laying in wait to do something really atrocious. And then you had a segment that said everyone's sexier. Both sides were bad. Although a lot of those also leaned towards OP being the worst because OP didn't reach out to actually talk to her sister. Tell her take down the content. My child's not for you to be mocking on the internet. Otherwise, you're going to have more problems to deal with. I have to say, I also lean towards everyone's sexier. I think for me, this really has me thinking and reflecting on how it is that we portray ourselves in social media. And OP's sister is essentially making a living from being child-free and having these luxurious cruises and purses and saying how it's great. But when you let, I think, your content get into a part where you're mocking other people, especially the people you love, you should really take a step back and consider who you are as a person and how you're portraying yourself. And there are repercussions to that. To say that OP's sister is anywhere on the right is not what I'm saying, because OP should have definitely reached out to her sister, and this should have been something that they should have communicated together. But it just is a very sad situation. And it seems like even their parents are very split about how to deal with it.
Sure. It started a big old rift in the family. Hopefully they can come together as a family at some point down the road and learn how to have healthy communications with each other.
Well, let's go to our next story and see what you think about a potential wedding. Am I the a-hole for wanting to use my fiance's cousin ranch property for my wedding, but not invite his wife? Hello, I'm using a throwaway. I, 32 female, am engaged to Terry, 32 male.
Hi.
Of course. We have been together since high school. We are finally taking it to the next level. Everything is ready. We got my dress and bridesmaid and my maid of honor. Same goes for Terry. Only thing is the venue. We want to use Terry's younger cousin's ranch, which is located in Kansas. It's a remarkably large ranch. It is the ideal location for our wedding, perfect for the amount of people who are invited. It has a stunning view and variety of animals. We want to take pictures with their horses and cows. The only thing is that Terry's younger cousin, Byron, 27 male, and his wife, Anais, 26 female, own the ranch. While I don't want Anais there, I'm okay with inviting Byron. I never had bonded with her. I have tried before. She's too quiet and keeps to herself. She despises technology and phones. She's dressed in old cottage clothes. She hosts tea parties for her friends. She really resembles a woman from the 1940s trapped in a 2020s body. I simply think she's just odd. I feel like she just tries to be unique. We don't really talk at all to one another. When there is a family gathering, I ignore her. I get along greatly with Byron. He's like a little brother to me. All I know is I don't know what he sees in her, but that's not really my problem. The issue started when I wanted to use their ranch. I asked Terry. He thought it was a great idea. Byron was on board when we told him. We prepared everything. I sent out the invitation with the help of my friends. Everything was all fine and dandy. Terry did get a call from Byron and asked if I forgot to put Anais's name on the invitation. Terry didn't know what he was talking about. When he was done on the phone, he asked me if I forgot to put Anais's name on the invitation. I was honest, and I told him no. She is not invited. I never liked her. Terry told me she is invited regardless. It's their property, and that she is like a sister to him. He thought I was just annoyed with her, but I was standing my ground on this one, and told him no repeatedly. We were just going back and forth. Terry just walked off, and I guess called Byron. They no longer want us to use their property and not attend the wedding since they are both upset. Byron called me and said some colorful words to me. I hung up, of course. Anais did message me as well, saying that the only way they will ever let us use the property is if Terry was marrying someone else, not a spoiled brat like me, who she thinks is entitled to everything. She blocked me as I tried to message her back. I did tell my friends about this and they think I am in the wrong. Terry is upset with me and hasn't really been talking that much with me. Terry's family and my entire family are furious with me. Now the majority of them don't want to go. Am I the a-hole?
Oh my Lanta. What a kerfuffle you put yourself in. How could you not think by everyone else telling you? Why are you here? Is my question. Everyone in your life has told you you were wrong. Now I get sometimes we do get that where some stories are like, everyone's telling them they're wrong, but they're right. I can get why that might exist. But in here, you sound so cold and calculated toward Anais. Very pretty name. And the only reason you give for this is she's trying to be unique and that bothers you. She sounds like a perfectly lovely person.
I would love to go to her tea parties.
Madame. Okay, let's say for sake of argument, you don't like her. Had you made that known from the onset to, I think Byron is the husband of Anais.
Correct.
Had you made that known when you guys were talking about the initial plans for the wedding, maybe it would have been a little different. But what you did was you went in, made all these plans, got the coordination going on, the invitations already out. You had already known what you were going to do, but you didn't let your fiance, you didn't let your cousin.
Correct. Future cousin-in-law.
Okay. Future family member. You didn't let them know, the ones that own the property, what you were trying to do, which was uninvite his wife, who has a amazing relationship with your fiance. There's an issue here. And by you not even having the conversation to begin with before it happened, because again, maybe it's a little different if you had gone to Byron and said, hey, we would love to have our wedding on the ranch, but I do not want to invite your wife. Is there a way we can pay for this to make this more amicable? Yes, feelings do get hurt, but at least the conversation happened. Because the truth is, if you don't want someone to attend your wedding, that's your right to not to invite them. So I don't see any problem with not wanting to invite her. I just see the problem where you acted like a child the entire way through this. Up until, I'm guessing, a couple weeks before, or however long it was, when everyone got the invitation. Up until then, you left it in the dark that you were doing this deed. And that's where you come off as very shady to me. Outside of how you dislike her for very
shallow reasons.
Yeah, and you're allowed to dislike people for whatever reasons you want. I'm not trying to gatekeep that, but to your question, I think it is, are you the a-hole for not inviting Anais?
For wanting the wedding on the ranch and not inviting the cousin's wife.
I don't think you're the a-hole for not wanting to invite someone to your wedding. I just think you're an a-hole for the way you went about all of that, and subsequently all the reactions you got from your family and friends to still have the gall to come on the internet because they couldn't hold you accountable. You had to come here to be held accountable. You can't take advice or criticism from people. That's all that says to me. So you have to definitely do some introspection and work on that. OP, you are the a-hole.
The consensus on Reddit is that our OP is definitely the a-hole. A lot of Redditors came forward and said, look, you can decide who to have at your wedding. Sure. And a lot of them essentially came forward and were ready to say not the a-hole because it's their wedding. But like you said, Timstradamus, the way that OP went about it, her reasons, very shallow reasons for why she didn't want to invite the wife, and the way that the conversation between her fiance and her went along just spells disaster to everyone. And they said they'd be surprised if now Terry even wants to marry our OP. The same as OP didn't want to invite Anais to the wedding. Well, Anais and Byron doesn't want the wedding to be on their property. So she's got to deal with that. And if the fallout is that Terry sees what kind of person he was about to marry and now doesn't want to, that just meant there was more eyes being open to what was apparently already there.
To your bullshit, OP.
If anything, I think disliking someone because their interests don't align with yours, I can't understand individuals like that. I get it if you're dealing with someone who has an overbearing personality, who tries to superimpose their likes on you, who tries to make you feel as if your interests are not interesting. I've encountered plenty of individuals like that. They're colorful personalities, to say the least. I don't understand it. The individual in question is quiet, keeps to herself, doesn't like technology, dresses in older clothes. This just seems more like nitpicking than anything. It's nothing to do with our OP themselves and how Anais is impacting OP. It nowhere does our OP say that Anais not liking technology means that whenever OP's around her, she's got to put her phone away.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything. It sounds like everything is whatever's in Anais's control for herself that's who she is. Why it is that someone would take that personally, I don't understand. the other shoe here for me that drops is our OP's fiance says that this person he wants to invite, that he sees this person as if she is a sister to him. And rather than understand that just because the relationship between her and Anais isn't something that's viable, right? They don't mesh together and therefore she just ignores her, that her fiance and making sure that her fiance is happy with the people that they've invited, she apparently puts her foot down on, to me, what I see is such a trivial matter. The way that I see it, it's cutting the nose to spite the face.
There might be more to their relationship than we know, because to be so heavy-handed with a particular person that has not done you wrong is interesting. Maybe the fiance dodged a bullet and our OP needs to do some growing up.
I agree. Well, let's go to our next story and see what you think about this interesting situation with a father-in-law. Am I the a-hole for slapping my father-in-law's arm away when he kept accidentally hurting my wife? My father-in-law was trying to dance with my wife and she said no. He was messing with her and was being playful, but pinched her arm too hard and it hurt her. He kept doing it and she was getting aggravated. He was going to do it again, but I slapped his hand out of the way and told him to stop. I stared right into his eyes and it was like looking at the devil himself. He said, "Never touch me again or I will snap your neck." Then he walked up to me and said, "Boy, I could put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger." He has anger management issues and bipolar disorder. But I am pretty freaked out and not sure if I'm the a-hole for slapping his arm out of the way. I don't know. I feel weird. Am I the a-hole?
So let's frame this situation because it sounds very dangerous. Does the OP give his age?
No, but if I had to guess, I would guess that they're in their 20s.
Okay, that sounds like it. It is your right, OP, to protect your wife. And I don't care who it's from, be it family member or stranger. If he is not respecting the boundaries that she is trying to put down, then it is more than okay for you to step in. Now, understand this. When people tell you the things that are in their head, do not be surprised if they attempt to do them. You need to protect yourself. I would say it's time to get some distance from this person. I hope that your wife understands what it is her father has said to you. And if not, you definitely need to relay it. OP, you're not the a-hole. When people aren't respecting her boundaries or your boundaries, you have a right to step in.
The consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. Let me go ahead and provide you some edited to ads that he put in his post. Our OP says, "I decided to not call the cops on him because my wife was already upset enough. She was pretty freaked out by the whole situation. I will be going no contact with him as I don't feel safe. I barely could sleep last night. He is an ex-Marine and scares the hell out of me also. Apparently he goes like ape crazy if he gets off his meds, and apparently he can't afford his meds right now." Edit number 2, we talked to her mom tonight about 24 hours later. All she said was, he was sad, nothing else. No apology, nothing. Our OP also added, inside the comment section, "My dilemma right now is that he verbally abuses my wife's mom and brother. I once heard him say he was going to slam her brother's head against the wall. I'm scared that if cops talk to him, he will actually start physically assaulting them." Now, when it comes to other comments from OP, let me just go ahead and sum it up. Based on his comments, they sound worried, sad. They say that the family and his wife keep saying that essentially to let it go because it was just a burst of anger due to his condition. Many Redditors came out, Redditors who have bipolar disorder and who are people who experience bipolar disorder either through family or friends, came forward saying that is not an excuse for that type of behavior. There are plenty of people who have bipolar disorder and they take the meds. They make sure that they have the meds if they are very serious. Family members make sure that going forward things are safe. And if anything, a lot of bipolar disorder can be helped greatly by the person who has it being very much aware of what they need to be done. Now, that's, of course, easier said than done, but mind you, these were also Redditors who do have this type of disorder and were speaking out on it. But let me go ahead and read one commenter that I think shed a little bit more light when it comes to understanding the differences when it comes to the severity of bipolar disorder. This commenter said, "We have neighbors on the diagonally opposite side of the road who have split up, but the man lives with his mother somewhere further up the road. She frequently drops him up to the house and takes him home again a short time later. Unfortunately, it's a common occurrence for him to get into loud arguments with his ex-wife or children during visits. A couple years ago, he got into a screaming match with his wife and daughter that continued for some time and ended up in the street outside the house. Another neighbor yelled at him to shut up, and he tried to attack the intervening neighbor just as police happened to arrive and ended up tackling him on the lawn. His mother was walking around telling everyone it's okay, he's bipolar. Meanwhile, we have a close friend who is also bipolar. The worst impact we've ever seen from that is that sometimes she can be slightly snappy, for which she apologizes and removes herself from the situation. We probably wouldn't even know she was bipolar if she hadn't explained, and she certainly doesn't get into lengthy screaming matches in the street. Personally, I think our neighbor's mom has done him a great disservice in life by allowing him to use his condition as a crutch to excuse unacceptable behavior." I also have to agree with that. If family around us continue to make excuses for bad behavior, that type of excusing can potentially put people at risk when everything hits the fan the wrong way. I think OP going no contact is a very good way. If anything, I kind of trigger some warning flags for me to hear that his wife was trying to downplay and just say it's just a burst of anger because of his condition, because those kind of excuses are reasons why when things really, really get bad, it got bad because you have people who were allowing the issue to get out of control. If anything, I do wish OP the best. I know there were Redditors coming out and saying exactly what you said, Timstradamus. Protect yourselves. Well, let's go to our next story, and I'll bring us to something just a little lighter. Am I the a-hole for refusing to wear a bra when my roomie's boyfriend stays over? I don't wear a bra at home. I go to college, then library, and then work, then gym. I am out at 7 a.m. and back at 10 p.m. Usually, I take a quick shower when I get home, then make a snack and just relax for an hour before bedtime. On the weekends, I barely leave the apartment besides the occasional outing with friends and colleagues. My roommate and I are very close, but now she has been biting my head off about me not wearing a bra at home. I was confused. Then she explained that it was about her boyfriend. I laughed in her face and told her to put a bra on his eyes instead. She got very upset, and I told her that I wasn't interested in her boyfriend, not in the slightest. She got offended and said that he wasn't interested in me either, so I said, then why are we arguing? It was only an issue if we were interested in each other. Tell him next time he sees me braless, he can pretend that I am a wall. According to her, it wasn't about interest, but being invasive, and he felt uncomfortable. Would you think that it was fine if he showed his D? I called her stupid because I was in my home. I wouldn't go braless in his home, and if he chose to go naked in his home, the only right I have is to get the hell out of there. She called me an a-hole. Am I?
This one's interesting.
You'd think it was a simple issue.
It's not, because I can also understand through Voyse and other women in my life, no one wants to wear a bra when they're home. I wouldn't want to wear a girdle for, I don't know, down there. I don't know. There's nothing to compare it to.
It's like having a jock strap on all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. So I can get the wanting to feel comfortable at home. Do we know how much the boyfriend is there?
Well, I mean, if you go ahead, no, not exactly at least. But if you go ahead and you put it to our OP provided the schedule, they said that they're out at 7, they get home at 10. If you're talking about Monday through Friday, and they say some weekends they go out, some weekends they stay in. So on some weekends when they're in, then they would see her, but sometimes she would be out. So it's a hard 50-50. I would say that she's not home as often. And if they're home, then it's at 10 p.m., which is really late. Most people would probably be almost getting ready to go to sleep for the next day.
I guess really the only reason I asked that question is because we now understand she's very busy. has very little time at home, especially because it sounds like they're younger, so they're living their life. How often is the boyfriend there? And what situation cropped up that has the roommate feeling so insecure about their relationship with him? Unless the boyfriend had been caught looking at her or has said some choice comments about ROP to his girlfriend. And see, that would be his problem, not ROP's problem. I gotta say that I think ROP would not be the a-hole because the problem isn't with the two roommates. She's been braless, I'm sure, several times around her roommate, and there's never been an issue. The issue has been since the boyfriend has been coming into the apartment or home that they're in. That's the issue. This whole scenario only happens because he's coming to a home that isn't his. If that's really an issue, and it's gotten to the point where your roommate is insecure about the whole thing, then they can go meet up and do things not inside the home or plan better when you're not around. If she's that insecure about you, OP, I would say have conversations though and really get to why it is she feels that way or what it is that the boyfriend has said to have elicited this response and reaction to her before you end up losing a good friend, because she does say that they are good friends, not just roommates, I believe.
Correct.
So I would say get down to what it is and why it is she feels that way, and then start having better plans and coordination with each other so he isn't present when you're present. Because it sounds like the problem really does lie with him and not you. So you're not the a-hole, in my opinion, OP.
The consensus on Reddit is that our OP's not the a-hole. Redditors were coming out and saying, it's funny that she says that our OP being braless is invasive, but he's coming into your home and it makes him uncomfortable. It sounds like you guys just need to go over to his place instead.
Yep.
Additionally, there was a lot of jokes where they were saying, hey, if you ever see the roommate's boyfriend, tell him, hey, eyes up here.
He sits there and looks at her and goes, I know where your eyes are.
Slap. If anything, I also agree. I can see it where we're trying to find a level of comfort between both parties, but this isn't truly about both parties, like you said. This is about a third party coming into the home and it's impacting how everything's jiving, and that's not okay. If there needs to be some compromise, it would be with the times that OP's roommate's boyfriend and her would come over to the apartment. Because it sounds like our OP is very busy and mostly outside of the apartment, except for weekends where they're able to truly relax. This needs to be an even level of comfort, and there shouldn't be a third party coming in that should be messing up the comfort of both of them. And yes, maybe it sounds like the roommate and her boyfriend need to have a talk if she doesn't trust him enough to keep his eyes up and blames it on his level of comfort.
I agree with that.
Now let's go to our next story and see what you think about a project partner. Am I the a-hole for not helping to defend my group project partner against our professor who wants her to fail for not contributing?
Group projects in college. Everyone's probably been in one of those.
I don't miss them. I, 20 male, am in a computer science course for college on operating systems. I was assigned this random group project partner, 20 female, and we were working on a project for most of the semester. We had decided to organize the project in a way that she would do core parts and I would do plug-in modules that depend on her core. However, since she did her parts in a convoluted way, it was hard for me to understand it, and when I couldn't get it to work, she had to do them as well. We got into an argument, and she claimed it wasn't convoluted. I then paid a tutor who advised me and said he could help, but that the project would be easier to do in Rust compared to C++. She agreed to redo the project in Rust if I converted everything we had so far, myself, and she'd help out with the last part. We got permission from the professor to do it in Rust instead. The tutor then helped me convert her code to Rust, and which counted as my part. However, when it finally came to doing the last part, she said she had no time to work with me on it as she didn't know Rust well enough and had some ballet competition the weekend of the deadline. She offered to finish it in the C++ version, but I told her it is okay. I then got it done with the help of the tutor and submitted the project. Since the Rust code was all written by me in the statement of contribution, I had to state that I did all the code and she contributed to the design process and report. However, the professor took that as her not contributing, as only the code is actually graded, and decided to give her a 0 on the project, which would lead to her failing the class as it is 70% of the grade. She now wants me to talk to the professor with her and is upset at me for refusing. The way I see it, it is not really my problem and I don't want to face any trouble, and she did already tell the professor that she had done the older C++ code we didn't submit. Am I the a-hole here? She's pretty upset at me and seems to blame me when it's the professor's decision.
Well. The bad group project partner rears their ugly head again.
Dun dun dun.
I don't miss those days. In this scenario, I have to say, based off everything he's told us, he is an a-hole. He tells us that his partner had already done the work in C++. She had gotten it done, but he wanted to change it over to a different format, Rust, because it was more convenient for him to work in.
Because of his tutor.
You made things pointlessly harder for someone else, and then they got a fail. 70% of their grade was involved with that fail. In my opinion, you're an a-hole. I hope that people gave you some advice before your partner ate that 70% off their grade, though. Hopefully you were able to pull your head out of your butt. But if there's some way that you could have helped the situation that you created, hopefully you did.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is our OP is definitely an a-hole. But let me go ahead and read to you a conversation in the comment section between OP and Redditors. So a commenter came out and said, "This does not seem like it has anything to do with him being weird around girls. She needs you to clarify the situation and confirm that she did work on the project. You used her ideas and work, made the tutor do your work, and then you took the credit. You're the a-hole." OP responded and said, "I'm not talking about the tutor as it isn't allowed, though loads of people do it. The rest I could do." Another commenter said, "When I read your comments, I get the feeling that you still do not get what you did wrong. This is quite alarming." OP said, "She doesn't know about the tutor either. I'm not denying I used her code to translate it into Rust, and she already told the professor that, but he told her that doesn't count as he can't verify the C++ code as it wasn't submitted by the deadline." I think, for me, this comes back to Redditors were right. You didn't do the work. You hired a tutor and you had him, quote unquote, help you with this work. That's not your work. That's called plagiarism. And you're having someone else who was your group partner who did the work because it was too convoluted for you to understand because you don't get it, because someone else did the work in another format. I absolutely despise individuals like this who hold no accountability for their actions at all, and it impacts others around them, and then they have the gall to say it's not my problem and to wash their hands of it when they created the mess. I just really don't like OP. He is one of those individuals where when I was dealing with college and the assignments and you're trying to work with others and they make it difficult, and you're trying to figure out a way for everybody to work together. But when you have those people who, one, change things on you, not at the beginning, when you guys could have talked and brainstormed this through, but midway through the project, when anybody going through and dealing with college has multiple other courses to deal with, other events in life, other things that they have to deal with, deadlines. But you expect this person, once they've done their work, to go ahead and try and figure out how to do it in another way. And then you don't even have the decency to try and back them up so that they can get some form of credit because all of the ideas and the premise for how that code was done wasn't even properly done by you. You hired somebody to, one, teach you and then do some of the work for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's where it gets all skeevy to me.
Hopefully there was some way to rectify that. Hopefully they have a a guidance counselor that they could have gotten in touch with to start moving forward and seeing if they could fix that. Because 70% of your grade is a lot. And the fact that he didn't care enough to make sure that his partner got the credit that they had worked for says a lot about him.
But
Yeah.
This actually upsets me. This upsets me more than other things, but it's only because I take work ethic when it comes to, it doesn't matter if it's school or actual work, very seriously. Well, let's go on to our next story, and this one's a not safe for work one. Wife's been out of town for 2 weeks. She is home in a few days and asked me what I wanted. Seems a long edging BJ was the wrong response. I have kind of given up the last while. My wife has never expressed an interest or participated in any form of dirty talk. I have never received a message of, I cannot wait to see you so I can insert what you want. If you read our text thread, you could guess I might be talking with my accountant. For the past year, she has been home for less than a few weeks. I might add that this is a volunteer position, and she has been living in the RV I have been making payments on for the last 18 years. Her being there is 100% her choice, yet it benefits our household with nothing. I have been covering all the bills for our house on my own. On the sex side, I have been getting a bit frustrated. She has never once sent me a text that she wanted me. So when she did message me that she was actually going to be home in a few days, I was very blunt. I plainly stated that I wanted to use every hole until I was satisfied, and there would be directions on how I wanted it, and an edging BJ was right at the top of the list. Her response was, I guess we'll see. I responded with, if that's your answer, you might as well stay. I don't need to get excited over disappointment. Am I the a-hole?
Okay, well, that escalated quickly. I've got some questions. How long have they been married?
At least 18 years if you think he's been paying for that RV for 18 years.
Okay.
I did what a lot of Redditors did. How can you be paying for an RV for 18 years?
Those are some weird payments.
However, I've looked up and RVs can cost anywhere between $20,000 upwards to $100,000. And
Sure.
if you think about $100,000 being the price of a very small house, I mean, back 18 years ago, you could buy a house for $100,000 and it would be a very small sort of townhouse, little nookie place, but you could still get one for that price. And it can take a hot minute to pay off $100,000.
From what our OP has explained, is that he doesn't feel like there's a relationship, be it physical or not. I hope that you've had conversations with her about this throughout however long this has been going on. See, this is why this story is very difficult, because I don't know how long she's been doing the volunteer work and being away. And if you're going based off what he says, I can see it from his end being frustrated. Him taking it out the way he is, basically demanding, is never a good thing in a relationship. Maybe he's trying to put some sauciness into the relationship with the text to get everything going when they do see each other. But there's a better way than acting as if you're owed someone's body. That's unhealthy. I guess I'll wrap it up like this. I believe you both suck. You both need to work on communication. I think not having the clear lines of communication that you're looking for more in your relationship that you're not getting is important. And for your wife, for her not to see that means you guys haven't been talking. For her to be as absent as she is, again, I don't know the breadth of the absence in the relationship, but it takes two people to have a healthy relationship. You both are dropping the ball.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is that our OP is the a-hole. However, I see it as everyone sucks here. And let me go ahead and provide some clarity from Redditors. Redditors said, wow, this is not a happy marriage at all. Others came forward saying that if their partner spoke to them like this, they would be offended. And as I said before, when it comes to the RV, more Redditors were coming forward and saying, 18 years? 18 years. What? Our OP answered a lot in the comment section. And the feeling that I get from it is that he's very bitter. So bitter, in fact, that when he talks about the RV, they actually put forward that the loan to the house, the mortgage, is a 20-year mortgage. For this RV, it's a 25-year loan.
Whoa.
How expensive was this RV? The way that they put it also in the comment section was that this was something that was sort of sprung on by the wife. and that they've been having to essentially pay off. I find the whole thing to be very interesting and unhealthy. For me, look, I can understand Redditors coming forward and saying, the way that you talk to her is very offensive. The thing is, when it comes to dirty texting and dirty talk, I've heard and seen my fair share of it. A lot of people express themselves differently. That's just who they are. Some like it exactly as it is, very dirty. And some people prefer a little bit more tactful, a little bit more of the romantic side. It just depends on who you are and who your partner is. If you're the type to get offended from this, then clearly you're not the person that likes dirty talk like this. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in relationships. And to take it to that point, I think is projecting.
Sure.
At least to me. Now, if I'm looking at it like this, has our OP ever talked like this with his wife? Not just in text, I'm talking about in person, because he says they've never expressed themselves into dirty talk when it comes to specifically in text. They don't actually specify if they do this also in person. But if this OP's partner was really offended, I think her response would have been something more different than I guess we will see.
Yeah.
It felt very passive, as if they didn't care one way or the other. That's just the way that I read into it. Because if someone were really offended, they would say, what the hell? For me, it didn't hit with that. It feels as if their marriage is not really a marriage anymore. It seems as if the wife is just sort of checked out and she's happy living in her RV because guess what? Everything else is getting dealt with. Well, and our OP feels that. They feel that they are the check. And yes, I can understand a bunch of women got upset because this guy's being rude to his wife. But I see it as the relationship was done. One side is picking up all of the slack that the other side hasn't been. And there's nothing there emotionally tying him, which is why he was fine with going to this 100 level, as you said, in this dirty talk. And her response was very not caring. Let me read to you the comment from OP. OP says, she wanted it. I didn't, but went along to be a husband. They approved us on a 25-year loan. They called her first on the approval on a 25-year loan, which handcuffed me on saying no. My mortgage is 20 years. Do not get me wrong when I say our family has had many amazing holidays in this RV, and I have many amazing memories in it with my children, but my house will be paid off before the RV, and I bought the house after the RV. You hear how in this, they sound as if there's no communication. Yeah, she got approved and I got handcuffed to it. I got guilted into this. And I had no choice because if I wanted to be a good husband, I had to say yes. Those are awful things. I can understand if you were to flip the roles and say, as a woman, I was handcuffed into this because my role was to be a good wife. Sure. And therefore I had to say yes. It doesn't matter if you have it a man saying this or a woman saying this. The marriage is done. There's no respect between each other.
I just wish we could have gotten it more from the wife's perspective here as well, because this story is very
nuanced.
Like, we could be siding with him, but who really knows?
For me, though, I think I find it very curious because her response in a text, you can't really read inflection. And you can hear her saying, I guess we'll see, and it being blasé, or I can hear it also being kind of coy and said, I guess we'll see. But our OP already jumped the gun because for him, he already feels neglected.
Sure.
So regardless, if her answer wasn't going to just be yes, for him, anything but a yes is a no. And therefore, he already jumped the gun. It just feels that there's a lot of hurt and neglect from both sides.
I hope that people have given ROP some food for thought.
No, they were mean. A lot of Redditors were actually very callous. And man, it made me really want to bite my tongue because the thing is, if I see this any other way, aside from it just being because a man is saying it, there would have been more of of support in saying, hey, if you're not happy in your marriage, maybe it's time that you find reasons to be happy with yourself. Our OP has only ever posted one other post on this profile, and it was a little less than a year ago. And apparently it was when they lost their job and how everything sort of seemed to come to a head and one of their credit cards had to go into collections. And if our OP is the only one that's contributing financially to everything, I can just imagine the stress, how crippling it can be when you feel as if there's everything that's on your shoulders and you didn't truly get to have a real say in some of those things. How it can feel as if you're shackled and handcuffed to obligations that you weren't okay with. It doesn't make it okay for him to be a bit of an ass when it comes to how he speaks to his wife, but it sounds as if maybe they should talk if this relationship still needs to go on. Well, let's go to our next story and see what you think about this sobering situation. Am I wrong for finding comfort in my late wife's twin sister? My wife passed away in a horrific car accident 8 months ago, leaving myself and our 3-year-old daughter behind. I was far too depressed to do anything, much less care for my daughter properly, so my sister-in-law, her twin sister, essentially moved in to help out. While sobbing about my wife's death together, one thing led to another and we ended up having sex. After the first time, we both felt nauseated with guilt, but soon came to realize that it was helping both of us cope. She's so much like my wife that when I'm with her, I'm able to kind of forget what happened. It's temporary relief, but relief nonetheless. She grew to believe she was doing a good thing by helping me cope and be a better father to my daughter. It's been a regular thing up until now. I feel obviously conflicted about it. No one can know what's going on as it might tear our family apart, but it's helped me to not kill myself, and I have been a much better father/member of society since we began. I don't know if I'm prepared to stop. Help me see things objectively. How fucked is this? Edit. I didn't specify that the first time we slept together was a month after her passing. Yes, it was very sick in hindsight, and we both regretted it deeply. It didn't happen again for another 2 months and then continuously until today. Am I the a-hole?
This is a pretty heavy story because we're dealing with a lot. Your late wife's sister is not your late wife. And this is the scary part here. You alluded to the fact that when you're with her, you can sometimes act like it didn't happen.
Sort of disassociate from what happened.
There's a lot there. And for your sister-in-law to have allowed this as well speaks to the gravity of the loss. I can understand where they're both trying to make the excuses, right? Oh, clearly we're both helping each other cope. She's allowing me to live this fantasy that my wife is still alive. I'm becoming a better father and a better member of society through her helping me. That is a gross way of trying to manage your reality. And please, I know people gave this, go get help. You need to cut off whatever you're doing right now. You've filled voids with things that aren't real. He says that he knows that what he's doing is wrong, but he's going to continue it. And he has continued it. To answer his question, yes, you're wrong. You and your sister-in-law are very wrong. I can't tell you, that sent like chills down my spine hearing that I can act as if it didn't happen. How far gone are you when that's what you're doing when you're seeing your sister-in-law? And that she's so much like her that I can just pretend. And it's sad because I have to believe that her twin sister knows that this is the void that she's filling for you. And I can't imagine feeling like I'm in a role that someone else preoccupied and I'm only here because I remind you of that person, not because you're with me because of me. That's got to be a sad reality to live in. So I think both of you need to go get help.
So the consensus on Reddit is our OP is definitely wrong for the situation. In fact, our OP said in the comment section that he was going to talk to his sister-in-law and end it. Our OP provided an update, and let me go ahead and give that. I talked to my sister-in-law, which ended in us in bed together once again. I don't think we can cut things off quite yet. It seems like a majority of criticism is about how this will affect my daughter, which is very understandable. We've just decided to take better care to keep our relationship private for as long as possible until we're ready to move on. I must say, I agree with Redditors and with you, Timstradamus, when everybody's been touting, please, you and the twin sister need to get counseling. This is not a good way to grieve or cope. It actually had some Redditors wondering in a very dark way if this was maybe okay with the twin sister because of how quickly she kind of filled in this role, that maybe this was the life that she had wanted.
Ooh, what a dark scenario that paints.
Took me a little bit to actually reflect on that because, mind you, this was a month after her sister's passing.
Sure, it's very quick.
And she just sort of falls into this role. I don't know. Honestly, I hope that it would not be something that dark. We'll never know it from the twin sister side. I wish that they would stop, because all that this does is put guilt on top of the grief that they're already experiencing. I do wish them the best. Yeah, that's all that I can say on that one. Well, let's go to our next story, and we're going to hit us up with another wedding one. Am I the a-hole for banning mom from my wedding? Throwaway. My parents divorced when I was 16. Dad cheated with my mom's sister. After the divorce, Dad married my aunt. 2 years later, he realized his mistake and divorced. He then tried to get back with Mom, but she was having none of it. When she discovered the affair, Mom stopped talking to a lot of people, Dad included, because a lot of them knew about the affair and covered for them. Family, friends, if they knew before she did, she cut them out. She would only communicate with Dad through lawyers, my brothers, and me. Mom remarried 5 years ago. My dad is still heartbroken. 3 months ago was my engagement party. It was the first time in years Mom had been in the same room as a lot of the invited guests. I asked while planning the party if this would be a problem for her. She said it would be fine. I thought that meant that she was ready to forgive, move on. No. She was friendly with some, got on well with my future in-laws, but gave a frostbitten cold shoulder to most. Aunts, uncles from both sides of my family, my grandma, friends her and Dad used to be close with, Dad all tried talking to her. She acted as if they weren't there, that they didn't exist. I was mortified and angry. It's been years. Couldn't she make an effort? The next day, I went to see her. We argued. I accused her of breaking her promise to me. She asked what promise. I reminded her that I asked if she would have a problem with the guests. She said no, that it would be fine. She then said that she told me no lie. She was fine with the guest list. It was my party, but she made no promises to interact with those guests. I called her childish, resentful, vindictive, that those personality traits are probably what drove Dad into another's bed. She made me and Dad look like fools in front of everyone, and if she wasn't going to forgive, if she wasn't interested in repairing our family, then she was uninvited from the wedding. That was 3 months ago. She hasn't reached out, apologized, or anything. I sent a message inviting her dress shopping. She didn't reply, and she was a no-show on the day. I sent pics of dresses I liked, asking what she thought. No reply. I sent another message asking if she'd join the next shopping outing. Perhaps we could find her a mother of the bride dress. Again, no reply. I went to Dad upset. He tried calling Mom, but as usual, his call went to voicemail. I feel hurt by all this. Yes, I said some things that hurt her too, but she was being so stubborn. I'm her child. She should put some work into mending what broke. My brothers have told me they disagree. They say I'm as selfish and self-centered as Dad. If Mom never speaks to me again, it will be my own fault. The thing is, Mom never gave Dad a chance to make up for what he did. He's still sorry about all that happened. I'm afraid she'll be as stubborn and bitter about our fight as she was about Dad's affair. We all make mistakes. So am I the a-hole? I think possibly a small the a-hole, but she is too.
Well, it looks like you have found us all spasm with the boo.
Because I didn't put a whole bunch of other ones before this.
I don't know anymore. This one's particularly bad because we have a daughter who believes that just because someone's their parent, that they owe them their way of thinking and how they act and respond to situations. Yeah, you can talk to someone and suggest things and get down to what it is happened, but what you said at the end was far more telling, is that she's my parent. Go along with it. You should be the one repairing these things. And that heinous comment she had to say to her mother about how this is the reason why dad cheated on you. Whew.
And with her sister too.
That's a whole humbug situation.
Family members were hiding it.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting? She, the mother, was able to put boundaries and keep to them. Holidays didn't break her. Memories didn't break her. You know, the things that normally get people. You know, especially when they've been treated bad by someone. The second something happens, a lot of the time, barriers go down, boundaries go down, and then they reintroduce the people that hurt them back into their lives due to illness, whatever have you. When things get tough, we end up forgetting how people have wronged us, inviting it back into our lives. This woman, she's as hard as stone. She has her boundaries. That affects you. I don't know why. You don't have to apologize to people. You don't have to forgive them. You don't owe them those things. Now, is it good for you to do them as a person? Because there can be an argument for that, for holding on to things and making them turn you bitter. But this is the difference. As long as she, the mother, has been able to forgive and move on for herself. I'm not talking about for the other people in her life. I'm talking about for her. Then you can move on with your life rationally and in a healthy manner. In my mind, the way the daughter is looking at it is exactly the way her brothers and other family members have said it. It's selfish. So OP, hopefully you do some self-reflection on this one and see where you wronged your mom. Hopefully it's not too late, but based off of how your mother has conducted herself with everyone else. Because when this happened, she was done with it. Done. Only communication to that man was through lawyers and the kids. She's steadfast. Sounds like you just got put on that list. And your mother, she's more than okay with setting those boundaries and not moving from them. So you do, if you ever get the chance, owe her a deep apology.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is that our OP is definitely the a-hole. We're going to delve into some of the comments in the comment section from OP because, man, they dig themselves.
No.
So our OP says he made a mistake. He wants to make up that mistake. A Redditor replied with, "This isn't oops, I bought chocolate when you wanted strawberry. This is oops, I stuck my dick in your sister." You don't come back from that.
No, you don't.
I find it interesting because our OP also puts that they want her to get along and have these relationships and it's time for her to move on. But it's not OP's choice for her mom to get along with anybody. And making this choice for OP is only causing their own relationship to suffer. Personally, a lot of Redditors, I myself included, think that her mom handled it with class. She didn't cause a scene. She ignored anyone that she went no contact with. The fact that her mom put herself in that situation shows that she loves her daughter enough to do that. However, the fact that OP throws in her mom's face that the reason that her dad cheated was because of her essential stubbornness or vindictiveness, that's BS.
Yep.
It goes into trying to find, or I guess side with the father in his bad deed. And here's where I think the line becomes very blurred. Our OP may not agree with cheating, but apparently she agrees with forgiveness over time for her. That's not something that she can decide for everybody, especially with her mother, who has been the victim of this. But in the heat of the moment, our OP blames that cheating, and you can't come back from that type of accusation.
Nope.
If her mom doesn't forget what other people have done to wrong her, she's definitely not going to forget her own daughter doing that. And here comes the other stint of that problem. If her mom decides to go ahead and open that door so that they could have some form of relationship, that will always be in the back of her mom's head that her daughter thinks this way and favors her father, who did something that was so heinous that it required severe consequences across the board for anybody that was involved. That's the one thing that I think a lot of people forget. In the heat of the moment, you can't take back those words you say. So the next time you say something, be a little wiser.
Yeah, you can't unsay words. Maybe I hope down the road, though, for your mother, she can... Because you would like for people to come around and let go of the animosity and the anger, but you're not allowed to tell people when to. They got to come to that on their own. And if they never do, that's still their right.
I think the problem is because OP has made it clear what side that she really stands on, right? She tries to excuse her father. He made a mistake. That's not a mistake. I agree. He didn't just slip up and his dick just fell.
I fell into your sister over and over again. I'm sorry.
It doesn't happen like that. You know, he also went and married the sister. And then 2 years later divorced her and was like, I made a mistake. No, that's just something that was just probably honestly said to his daughter over and over. I made a mistake. I missed your mom. I made a mistake. I missed your mom. And you hear that sort of longing from your parent for another parent. I get that they probably have feelings, regrets. They shouldn't have included their child in it. And apparently has included her so much in it that now she's got opinions on it.
Yep, she picked a side. And you never want to put your kids in a situation where you're having them pick a side.
Exactly. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about another secret. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's secret? My 29 female husband, Charles, 30 male, went to his brother, Frank's 28 male, bachelor party last weekend. Frank's fiancé, Jess, 26 female, was very vocal about her boundaries. She did not want him to go to a strip club because she finds it disrespectful and unnecessary. Jess is a very good friend of mine and had told me, Frank, and everyone going to the bachelor party that if Frank steps foot into a strip club, she's going to leave him. As you guessed it, they went to a strip club and kept it a secret from Jess. I only found out because Charles was logged into his Facebook on my iPad and I saw the messages. They had a code word and everything for it in case they wanted to talk about it around Jess. I confronted Charles about it and he said they were just doing basic bachelor things. I asked if anyone bothered to remind Frank about what Jess had said and he said no because what she doesn't know can't hurt her and the boys got Frank's back. I was disgusted by this and I told Charles that if no one is going to tell her, then I will. Charles exploded on me that I need to mind my own business. They didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't cheating on her or anything. And that if I told Jess, then I would be ruining a marriage. I knew Charles was going to delete the chat, so I took pictures on my phone before I confronted him, and I sent the messages to Jess. Needless to say, Jess was livid. This all went down on Monday. Jess has since left Frank and moved back with her parents for the time being. Frank has been calling me nonstop saying that I ruined his life. Charles is threatening to leave me because he says he can't trust me anymore and it's my fault that his boys won't talk to him. Their family members are calling me a bunch of names, saying I wasted so much money because the wedding was pretty much entirely planned and ruined what could have been a happy marriage. Am I the a-hole for telling Jess the truth and ruining her marriage and potentially mine? Edit. I do not see gentlemen's clubs the same way that Jess does. That isn't what bothered me. What bothered me is the fact that she put one boundary on the bachelor party and they chose not to respect it. They chose to disrespect it and chose to keep it from her. That is why I chose to tell her. My marriage already was in a rocky place. This just solidified that I do not want to continue my marriage either because I do not trust Charles or his friends. If they are keeping this from her, what are they keeping from me? Am I the a-hole?
So she gives us really the reason why she does all this at the very end of her story. She was already in a failed marriage and she was ready to have as much collateral damage on the way out as she could. I'm not saying that what transpired and everything happening was her fault, because the truth is they chose to go to the bachelor party. They chose to go into the gentleman's club. Right? You can't make someone go and do those things, because she's asking is she the a-hole for blowing this entire thing up, ending her marriage, ending the wedding of her friends.
Correct.
I understand where you could get into an argument that you should have just minded your own business and everything would have gone according to plan. There might be people out there that say you shouldn't put your finger on that scale, but I think I'll even go back to one where we had a couple weeks ago, the bachelorette party where the woman cheated on her fiance during a Vegas trip. I still feel the same exact way about that as I do with this. You understand that a wrong happened, that you knew where their boundaries were set. And she is correct. If they're willing to hide what the fiance did to her friend Jess, as far as going to the gentleman's club, what is her husband and his friends been hiding from her? The only reason why she found this out was because he stayed signed in to the iPad. She never would have known. You have a right, once you know something's wrong, to shed a light on it. And yes, there was a lot of collateral in this. You can definitely hear it from where, again, she says, her marriage was ending anyway. This was just the final curtain call.
In the coffin.
Yeah, it is what it is for her. And if you're willing to do the wrong, be willing to accept the consequences of it. So in my opinion, OP, you are not the a-hole.
Well, the consensus on Reddit is not the a-hole. And I've got quite a few comments to go ahead and read to you because they were all very interesting. So one comment said, "Sounds to me like Frank ruined his own marriage, and why would he want to start a marriage crossing a boundary that was set by his fiancée?" Another commenter said, "Also, if you think it's a ridiculous boundary, then you shouldn't be marrying that person to begin with. There are plenty of women that don't care about strip clubs. There are plenty of dudes that don't like strip clubs. Those two can find people with a more similar mindset." Then that got us on the roll when it comes to men and strip clubs. Let me read one Redditor story regarding this whole thing. A Redditor said, "I'm 59 male, only been to one once. It was a coworker's birthday on my electrical construction crew, and it was also a Friday night. I didn't really want to go, but got talked into being one of the boys. He cashed his paycheck on the way there, and by the time we all left, he owed me $60 because he'd already spent his entire 2-week check on tips, lap dances, and drinks. I had to drive him home because he was far too drunk to walk straight, much less drive. He'd only been married about 18 months. She was gorgeous and as sweet as could be, and had a 6 to 7 month old baby waiting at home. The divorce came immediately after, and his whole life turned to shit. Excessive drinking, no shows at work leading to losing several jobs in a row. I lost touch with him and have no idea if he ever managed to turn things around. Never been back to one of those places. I took that lesson to heart." So I thought that was an interesting perspective from a male Redditor. Let me go ahead and provide you with a perspective from a female Redditor. On one such story, she requested that there be no strippers at the bachelorette party due to how her brother-in-laws were a bit disrespectful towards her. He apparently came back to the party complaining how he feels whipped, and the guys were teasing him. In fact, the jabs regarding this whipped feeling continued for about a year until he confessed that there had been strippers. Apparently, he was tied down to a chair and forced to take a dance. Our Redditor had said, had her husband, then fiance, just been upfront and told her that this whole tie-up thing happened, she would have been mad at her brother-in-laws for it, not at her now husband. But the fact that her husband had lied and then persisted with lying and using that lie as a weapon, man, that's a bit rough. In fact, the only reason why he confessed, our Redditor was touting to her friends what a unicorn he was for his honesty and truthfulness, to which he confessed in front of their friends that this was a reason why their marriage nearly broke, because nothing makes you feel more like an idiot than truly understanding the lies and how the digs and jabs were at their expense.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, to have come to the realization and then to admit that in front of everyone, there was a time and place. You probably could have taken her aside and then let her know, because not only did you completely destroy her idea of you, but then you did it in front of all of your family and friends. So you made her look a fool. Maybe a time and a place for that one. Or maybe don't lie about it.
Just
Maybe
don't
just
lie.
at the beginning, like, hey, everyone tied me down to a table and forced me to take a dance.
Like I said, she had said, had he just told me right at the beginning, they forced me to take a dance. I wasn't expecting it, and I'm really sorry. I think that would have been different. But she was very clear that the reason why she didn't want it was because her brother-in-laws were a bit disrespectful towards her. In my mind, I can see it from the standpoint of the story before, where you have males who they do enjoy going to the strip club, and some who don't see the point in any of that, because why would you want to pay for female attention quite like that? And then you have additionally where you have women who, like in this case, set a boundary. The boundary's been crossed. You kept that secret, kept it so long though, that now you have your partner wondering, well, you just made an absolute fool of me. You made me think that I could trust you, but clearly I couldn't. And then you made me feel bad about it by hitting me with the jabs. Yeah, that I'm whipped and I couldn't have it and the guys made me feel bad. But that never happened. It's absolutely baffling.
all these stories come back to is learning what the boundaries are between you and your partner, and making sure that if you're willing to cross them, that you're willing to lose the relationship.
I have to say, just very simply, honesty is the best policy. Well, let's go to our next story and see what you think about emotional cheaters. Am I the a-hole for calling divorce immediately after finding out my wife emotionally cheated on me? I found out my wife was cheating on me emotionally last week. I found it through a notification when she was in the shower. We are both 33 and married for 6 years. In my eyes, everything was good. Funny how one can hide their betrayal without the other party noticing. I confronted her right away and told her to open the phone to show me the messages. She refused at first, but gave up after I told her we are getting a divorce. The texts were not that old, and there were not many. It was obvious most of the texts were deleted. I asked her questions about the affair: why, who, where, how. I will not go into details as I want to stay anonymous, but I was trickle-truthed in the end. She got caught and trickle-truthed me. I do not believe her and what she said about the extent they went. At the beginning of our relationship, I made it very clear that cheating in any form is a relationship ender. I told her to get a lawyer because we are getting divorced. She asked for marriage counseling, promised to change and even make her life completely dependent on me, leave the job, not leave the house, and give me all of her digital devices. I told her where marriage counseling would help was before she decided to have an affair. We could go to marriage counseling and solve the problem there by talking whichever problem she had. Instead, she went on to have an emotional affair and made sure to actively hide things from me by deleting texts and trickle-truthing. I reminded her my boundaries and what I told her about them in the beginning of the relationship. I will hand the divorce papers to her this month, and she is telling me to reconsider. Am I the a-hole in this situation?
This one's pretty clear and cut. You're allowed to get divorced from your partner for any reason. This one just happens to be the fact that you caught her, I guess, emotionally cheating. It says he found this because a notification popped up on her phone. And then, you know what the worst part is? After he confronts her, she, I guess, goes away and deletes enough of it to make it look like it's only normal and old stuff that they were talking about. By you deleting those messages incriminates the absolute hell out of you. If there was nothing to hide, you wouldn't have deleted anything. There is obviously more to that than even he knows at this point, but he says it in the beginning of their relationship. That was a boundary. I'm not going to accept cheating in any form. You know that about your partner. It sounds like they've been together for, 6 years? Something like that?
6 years.
You know, they're in their 30s now. Life's about to start picking up because they got married in their late 20s, I guess. And, you're in your 30s. You're starting to get your pace in life. Your education should be done. You should be doing really well as far as whatever occupation you were doing. You have a little bit of spending money now. You're out from under your 20s, so things should be getting better in life. You're maybe about to start a family, whether or not you want kids or not. These should be the good points. But what I find most startling is when she does get confronted, when she finally does admit to the emotional cheating, she then goes and says, I will give you everything. I will quit my job. I will become dependent on you. Those are terrible things to say to anyone. I can't imagine the state of mind someone must be in to want to give that to someone. To believe that those boundaries being crossed creates a healthy and long-lasting relationship. I'm sorry that she is in that mindset, and I'm happy for you that you didn't believe, because some people would jump on that and go, this is how I feel better in our relationship, by owning everything that you are. I'm so happy for our OP that he didn't believe that that notion of control gives you a healthy and long-lasting relationship. So good for you.
I agree.
So, in my opinion, no, you're not the a-hole. You have your boundaries. You stuck to them. Maybe there's a common theme that you found some of these stories where it's very hard-lined. You see too often where people are willing to pull back on what they said was going to happen and change their morals and their values because they want to do what's easy, right? Stay with the person. Because that is really the easy choice.
That's true.
Not to have anything change in life, because when you dissolve a marriage, there's so much. There's so much that goes into it. It's not just saying, oh, well, we're just divorced. There's assets. There's so much. So for a lot of people, they end up just saying, you know what? Screw it. I would rather just stay in this defeated marriage where I have to change my values over dissolving it, doing what's hard, and moving on with life.
The consensus on Reddit was that our OP is not the a-hole. For Redditors, it was the fact that someone was trickling the truth to them that sort of stamped it in place. Because if you can't trust your partner, then there's really no relationship. Let me go ahead and read to you an update from our OP.
Oh.
It's 100% divorce now. I think I was looking to relax and validate my logic with that post. Love is there, but trust is broken. My heart told me to have a hope, but my logic told me to divorce. Logic won in the end. It has been over a week now, and I still do not get the full information about the affair. Yesterday night and this morning after the post, I came to learn new information about the affair. I am still not sure if it's the full extent. To clarify the emotional affair part, they sexted, sent nudes to each other, and there were I love yous involved. If it's not cheating, I do not know what it is. Whatever, I still do not know the full truth, and she refuses disclosing who exactly this affair partner is. My trust level for her is so low that she could say sky is blue, and I would doubt it. This relationship is just over, dead. I will go ahead with the divorce as soon as possible so I can process my feelings alone after she leaves. Some people told me I would not be able to find anyone at 33 as a male. This is the last thing I worry about after a divorce. First thing is to get over the relationship and put myself together better than ever. I am planning on starting individual therapy right after I sort things out. I can date after that easily. Hope seeing you with a happy divorce update and in a better mood.
Attaboy. And to the people who use age as a gauge of whether or not someone's worthy of a relationship, I would say that you are in the clown category, because there are plenty of people who have found people, regardless of your age. How unmeasured a comment to make to a complete stranger in this. Why would that come up? Why would you then go, well, you're 33, you're never going to find someone now?
My father found happiness, in his 50s? And was with her till the very end.
You really show you watch too much social media.
Just a bit too much. Well, let's go to our very last story of the day and see what you think here. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my wife because she lied about her fertility? I, male 38, have been with my wife, Natalie, female 37, for 8 years, married for 4 years. Natalie has a daughter from a previous relationship, Kaya, female 12. Kaya's dad left when she was a newborn. We have no idea where he is. I love her as if she were mine. She calls me dad and has a great relationship with me. I told Natalie from the very beginning that I would like to have biological children, and she said she is open to having more kids. After we got married, We bought a nice place and started trying for a baby. After a year, we did some testing and all came back normal. My wife said IVF would be too costly and hard on her body. I was secretly devastated, but I decided to come to terms with the fact that I'll never have any biological kids. This was until a few days ago when I found out from Natalie's sister that Natalie lied to me. She and her sister got into a fight in our house, and her sister screamed, "At least I don't take pills behind my husband's back and claim I'm infertile. Does he know you had an abortion?" I was floored. My wife kicked her sister out and started crying, saying she really didn't want another kid and didn't want to lose me. I can't believe she lied to me instead of talking to me. I just laughed. I have been staying at my parents' house since then. Natalie begs me to come back, and she says we can try for a baby. Kaya even messaged me to come back. My parents think I should just move on and give her another chance. She made a mistake and she apologized. Am I the a-hole for wanting a divorce for this lie? Added, I live in Canada. I'm pro-choice. I do believe women have control of their bodies. Don't lecture me about her rights, but this is a different case. She lied to me. I could now have my baby in my arms. I had no idea she is against having more babies until a few days ago. Abortion happened 1.5 years after our wedding. Yes, my baby. Yes, she saw me devastated and upset when she claimed we can't have a baby. I can't believe she lied in my face. Am I the a-hole?
I used my meatball too soon. Can't get that back. What a truly sad story this is. She told her husband of 8 years that she wanted kids and she was open to having biological children with him. From the beginning, that is what he told her. She, behind his back, for 8 years, has been taking contraceptives. And then, on top of all of it, she did get pregnant at one point. And then she did get an abortion. Without ever having talked to him once. Even if that's what she truly felt, that she did not want any, you owed it to him to tell him that. Because at the end of the day, even if you did want to still go through with the abortion,
at least he would know.
Yep. He'd know where he stands. He wanted a biological child. You knew that. That's the stinging part of this. You knew what your partner wanted. And you did everything in your power to make sure that you kept the lie going. All you had to tell him was, no, you did not want to have any more children. How terrible a person are you that you'd keep that lie up for 8 years? And the only reason why he found out was because your sister ratted you out. I think all he's asking is if he's the a-hole for ending the relationship.
Correct.
I'll say what I said the last one. You can end the relationship based off of anything. In my opinion, you don't owe someone a relationship. So if you deem it that you don't want to be in there anymore, that's the end of it. For your wife not to see the lie, the willingness to take contraceptive for 8 years, to tell someone that obviously you can't naturally have a child, but to know every time that you did, to look at your partner with love and compassion and know what they want.
To see their devastation and their feelings.
Why would she have stayed with you? Well, that's really my question to a type of person like that. To be able to sleep with yourself at night. All you had to say was, I don't want future kids. I don't want another biological child. And if the relationship is supposed to be, it will withstand that and you guys can work through it. But you never even gave him that chance. You took the choice away. You have to at least have the conversation. That's a wildly unhealthy relationship. In my opinion, OP, you are not the a-hole. Does he have an update?
We do have updates.
Okay.
But let me go ahead and give you the consensus. The consensus on Reddit is our OP is not the a-hole. Redditors were saying, man, the layers of dishonesty here. Many said the relationship that is not built on trust and honesty isn't one that's going to last. And OP, you should go find yourself someone that you can build a family that wants one with you. Now, as you know, we do have an update, so let me go ahead and read that. Thank you for all of your kind comments and private messages. I did receive a few unkind ones accusing me of trying to control her body or making her feel unsafe, which is why she secretly went through with it. Natalie came over to my parents' house last night after dinner. She dropped off Kaya at her friend's because she said she needed to talk to me. I'm glad I gave her the chance because I now have no doubt she is a pathological liar. She said after her first pregnancy, she had to work so hard to be in shape, and she swore she would never do that again. I said, then you lied to me from day one? She said she thought she would change her mind, but she didn't. Then she saw me come to terms with not having a baby, so she decided not to tell me. I said, so you lied more. You got rid of my baby because you wanted to stay fit. You didn't even discuss anything with me. How could you do that to me? I could be holding my baby right now, and you stole that from me. She said she is sorry, but the good news is she still can. I said, you are still lying. You still don't want a baby, and you're only saying it so I stay. I don't even know what to believe anymore. I can't trust you, ever. She started crying, saying, Kay is so sad you left us because I can't give you a baby. I lost it. You lied to her too? Is this why she thinks I left? I told her it's over, and to get out of my parents' house. She cried and cried. I'll meet with a lawyer this week to start the separation process. I'll send a text to Kaya and explain that I didn't abandon her and will do anything to be in her life. I never legally adopted her, sadly. I can't believe I blindly trusted her all these years. As for Kaya's dad, I have no idea who he is. She refuses to talk about it. Redditors came out saying, for a lot of areas, there are legal means for you to have visitation with a child that you're not adopted with as long as you show that there's a relationship there. So our OP actually responded and says that they will go ahead and talk to their lawyer about that because they really do care for what they see as their daughter. And now let me go ahead and give you a last update from our OP. Our OP says, I'm sorry for multiple posts, but you guys have been so helpful. Definitely more than my family and friends in real life. I took your advice and met with my sister-in-law over lunch. She was very reluctant to give me any info, but here's what she said. Natalie is in no contact with her parents since before Kaya was born. She didn't lie about this part. I asked her if she knows who Kaya's dad is because Natalie gets upset every time I asked and refuses to talk about him. She was surprised and said, You were kidding, right? You can't be this naive. It's obviously Ryan, her boss, the guy who owns the yoga place. I asked about the relationship. She kept saying, Natalie really loves you. I begged her to tell me everything. She said she thinks, not sure, the reason Natalie had an abortion was that she wasn't sure if the baby was mine or Ryan's. Either way, she didn't want another baby. I was floored. She was cheating on me. The same time we were trying for a baby. With the same guy who already abandoned her once. What's going on here? Why? I was stupid enough to start a college fund for her kid, yet she cheated on me at least once with this guy? I'm going to lose my house and half of everything. She said, listen, you're a good guy. Just move on. No need to dig more. You are making yourself crazy. I asked if Kaya knows who her dad is. She said absolutely not because Ryan has zero desire to be in her life. I wanted to tell everything to Kaya before leaving, but my parents think this is crossing the line because I'm not her dad or mom and it's none of my business. My friends think I want to tell her to hurt Natalie, but it's the opposite. I know how awful it is to be lied to, and Kaya deserves the truth. My parents think I act like a crazy person, and I should just meet with the lawyer.
I think if I'm you, I'm getting with the lawyer and going ahead and getting the divorce and seeing if there's any legal rights to your daughter. Get those things legally put in place, and yes, go find someone that has your values and that wants to start a family with you. As far as Kay is concerned, his daughter, how old is she?
She's 12.
Okay. That is starting around the age of when they start making decisions on what people mean in their life. She might be a little too young to understand the gravity of what her mother has done. So I would probably err on the side of just being her father. And if she does have anything to say about everything, you can try to clarify, but I wouldn't go into how deep this runs quite yet. you're going to put her in a situation where she gets to pick parents. For the sake of the child, you and your ex-wife need to both agree that she needs to stay out of it. But I do understand when the other parent is the one in the wrong, they try to get out ahead of it to start, with a lack of better term, brainwashing. So that way they come out the good guy. But understand, the truth will always prevail. Whether it be now or in 5 or 6 years when she can truly understand what really happened, don't feel pressured into joining in on the petty. Just be a good father. That's what your kid will see.
I also agree with this. Be there for Kea. You've raised her. Be a support where you can. Get your visitation. When she's older and ready, you can go ahead and ask her if she'd like to know. And then at least provide her the truth when she's ready and can handle that truth. That would be my best suggestion there.
Hopefully he moves on. And I know there's a lot to heal from. Hopefully he gets himself into counseling, because it sounds like he needs it. He's everywhere right now. His life got turned upside down. And to be told that your life is built on lies can be startling for anybody.
And cheating. And that you're going to lose half of everything because of the divorce.
There's a lot in there.
Well, I hope that OP finds a partner that aligns with what they want in a family and that they build a good future together.
I wholeheartedly agree. Well, was that our last story?
That was my last story of betrayal.
You had a lot of them today. There was a common theme. It's either betrayal or like wedding stuff.
Yeah. Or a combination thereof.
Yeah. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you've seen the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We regularly post on Mondays. And on our Patreons, we have Damas After Dark, where we get into the nitty-gritty.
I can't imagine them getting worse than this, but I always get scared when we do Damas.
Sometimes.
See you over there.
Speaking of Patreons, we would love to thank all of our Teatreons for all of your support.
Yes, we love and appreciate every single one of you.
Mwah!
As always, listeners, we look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. What did you think about the stories today?
And who's your favorite pirate? I really want to know this question.
Pirate?
Because we went to Pirate Fest. I want to know what everybody's favorite pirate is.
That was a good day. I tried something new there. It was something European? Like a Scotch egg or something?
Scottish egg.
Those things are fantastic. We have to learn how to make that.
One day.
And then like meat pies. I was not familiar with meat pies. I thought a meat pie was a chicken pot pie type situation.
Those are very different.
Oh yeah. The meat pies are fantastic. You guys been living right over there. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.